Imagine your child stands before a judge, not to excuse himself, but to save you. The municipal courtroom breathes in routines, paper sliding, shoes scuffing tile, the steady whisper of a ceiling vent. Judge Caprio moves through the morning docket, red lights, double parks, the ordinary gravity of small rules, when the door opens on a young woman and a boy. She's 30-something, hair pulled back without vanity, thrift store coat, knuckles white around a folded notice. The boy's hand is threaded through hers, serious in a way 9-year-olds shouldn't be. Name, the clerk asks. Amanda Reeves, she answers, voice neat but tired. The file is unremarkable on its face, 3 speeding citations, residential streets, unpaid notices stacking to $280. For some, a nuisance. For her, a rent check. Caprio reads, then looks up. Ms. Reeves, why didn't you pay these fines? She swallows. Because I couldn't, Your Honor. I work nights. Sometimes doubles. I'm not making excuses, just trying to be present for my son. A cough somewhere in the back. The boy steps forward before anyone invites him. She didn't do anything bad, sir, he says, words careful, brave. She drove fast because I had a fever and we were late for the hospital. The room stills. Caprio's hand pauses on the folder. He studies the boy as if weighing a small, shining truth. What's your name, son? Eli. Eli, are you defending your mom? Yes, sir. She always defends me. A faint warmth moves through the benches. Caprio nods, turns a page. The print is precise, 2:03 a.m., Providence General, school zone adjoining the ER access road. Fact meets the child's memory without friction. He shifts his attention back to Amanda. The record shows 3 separate incidents. Why so many? She tightens her grip on the paper. Those months were not kind, she says softly. I was alone a lot. I tried to keep up and I didn't. No theatrics, no tears, just a sentence held together by work and sleep deprivation. Caprio's tone lowers a half step, the official cadence giving way to something closer to conversation. What do you do at night? A counter shift at a 24-hour cafe. I left the hospital last year. It was too much. He doesn't push. He glances at Eli, who hasn't let go of his mother's hand. The boy stands straight, sneakers just touching the brass rail, eyes bright with belief. Caprio closes the folder without closing the moment. Eli, he says, thank you for speaking clearly. Not everyone your age does. The boy nods, cheeks coloring. Amanda exhales, the kind of breath that means she's been holding the world on her ribs. From the gallery comes the faint click of a pen, then quiet again. The judge looks from mother to son and back, measuring not just violations but the weight behind them. This began as a traffic matter, he says at last, voice steady as a level. But we don't live on paper. We live at 2 in the morning with a sick child and a thin paycheck. He leans forward an inch. We'll take this one step at a time, Ms. Reeves. Carefully. The clerk waits, pen hovering. The boy's hand tightens. The next page of the file will hold numbers, the next minutes will hold something else, room for a story to breathe where a penalty was supposed to go. Where are you watching from? Let me know in the comments below and don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Sometimes heroes don't wear capes. They wear the smell of coffee and the fatigue of night shifts. The courtroom fades behind her voice. Amanda stands at the small podium, but it's no longer a place for defense, it becomes a confession booth made of oak and echo. Judge Caprio leans slightly forward, elbows resting on the bench, his face open, patient. I used to be a nurse, she begins quietly. At Rhode Island Hospital. I loved it, helping people, being part of something good. But after my husband, after the fire, her words thin out. He was a firefighter. The building collapsed. I remember the sound more than anything. Like the sky folding in. Eli looks up at her, trying to understand pieces of a story he's heard but never seen told out loud. I couldn't go back after that, she continues. I thought I was strong enough, but I'd freeze every time I heard an alarm. So I took another job. Nights, mostly. At a cafe near the highway. It pays just enough to keep us somewhere warm. Her voice doesn't break, it simply drifts. The room listens the way people do when silence feels sacred. Judge Caprio asks softly, and the car? The one from these violations? Amanda smiles faintly, almost guilty. That was his car. My husband's. I couldn't sell it. It's the only thing that still smells like him. She looks down at her hands, folded tightly. Every time I drive it, I can almost hear him, telling me to keep going. Caprio doesn't reply right away. He glances toward Eli, whose small fingers are tracing the edge of the wooden rail, patient, rhythmic. The judge turns a page in the file. 2 of these citations happen near hospitals, he says. At 4:17 a.m. and 11:42 p.m. Amanda nods. Eli's asthma. Then my mother's medicine. Those nights, it felt like everything was breaking at once. The clerk scribbles notes, but no one really notices. Every sound in the room, the pen, the faint buzz of a light, is swallowed by the story unfolding in ordinary sentences. Caprio closes the folder again. The reports mention that your car was marked for impound but never taken. Yes, sir. The officer said he'd delay it. He used to work with my husband. I didn't ask him to, but he did. Something flickers in the judge's eyes, a quiet recognition of decency surviving inside bureaucracy. Why didn't you ask for help, Ms. Reeves? She hesitates, then says, almost to herself, because I thought strength meant never needing anyone. I didn't want to be someone's sad story. The judge nods once, slowly. And yet here you are, still standing. Amanda gives a small laugh, fragile but sincere. Standing's about all I've learned to do. Eli looks up at the judge. She doesn't sleep much, sir. She works when everyone else does dreaming. Caprio's jaw tightens slightly. He says nothing, only meets the boy's gaze, a look that says more than words ever could. In the back row, a woman wipes her eyes with a tissue, pretending she's not crying. The judge clears his throat. Ms. Reeves, sometimes asking for help isn't weakness. It's the most honest kind of strength. You understand? Amanda nods, her voice small but steady. I do now. The gavel doesn't fall yet. It just waits, suspended in his hand, as if even the law itself needs a pause to respect what it just heard. Outside, through the high windows, the morning light touches the edge of her face, tired, beautiful in its endurance. And for a brief second, the courtroom doesn't feel like a place for punishment at all. It feels like a place for grace. Sometimes the loudest sound in a courtroom is what no one dares to say. The murmur of the room fades as Judge Caprio flips through the documents again, his brow tightening just slightly. Something doesn't align. He studies the timestamps, 3 violations, 3 locations, and 1 entry stops him. Ms. Reeves, he says, tone measured, this last citation, it's marked at 3:40 a.m., correct? Amanda nods faintly. According to your statement, you were working that night at the cafe. I was. The judge leans back. Then who was driving? The silence that follows lands heavier than any gavel. Amanda's eyes lower, her hands tightening on the stand. Eli shifts beside her, his feet barely touching the floor. Caprio softens his tone. Ms. Reeves? She hesitates. It wasn't me, Your Honor. A pause. Then who? Eli looks up at his mother, then down again. His small shoulders rise and fall with the weight of something he's not supposed to carry. Caprio notices. Eli, he says gently, is there something you'd like to tell me? For a moment, no sound, just the faint creak of the wooden bench as the boy fidgets. Then, in a voice thin as thread, he speaks. I pressed the button, sir. The car was in the driveway. It started rolling. I thought it was a game. Mom ran outside, but the police were already there. Gasps ripple through the courtroom. Amanda's head drops. She reaches for her son's hand, whispering, "Eli, sweetheart, you didn't need to. I didn't want you to get in trouble, Mom." Her voice trembles. "I was trying to protect you." Caprio sits back, his expression unreadable. When he finally speaks, it's low and deliberate. "So, one of these tickets wasn't for speeding at all, it was an accident." Amanda nods, barely. "I was afraid to say anything. I thought if I explained, they'd take my license, and then I couldn't work. I couldn't risk it." The judge glances at the clerk. "This citation, issued automatically?" "Yes, Your Honor." "From the camera system?" Caprio exhales through his nose, slow, controlled. "And it's been bundled with 2 legitimate violations?" "Yes, sir." He turns back to Amanda. "If you hadn't come here today, this case would have gone to collections by the end of the week. They would have impounded your car." She closes her eyes. "That car is all we have left of him." Eli leans closer, whispering, "I'm sorry, Mom." Caprio's voice softens. "Eli, don't apologize for telling the truth. Most adults struggle with that." The room stays still. Even the clicking of the reporters' pens has stopped. He removes his glasses, folds them neatly on the desk. "You see, Ms. Reeves," he says, almost to himself, "I've spent decades hearing excuses. But every once in a while, a case reminds me that behind every fine is a person. And behind some people, is a heart just trying to keep beating." Amanda nods, her eyes glistening. "I didn't mean to hide anything, Your Honor. I just didn't know how to ask for mercy." The judge looks at her for a long moment. "Mercy doesn't start with the court," he says quietly. "It starts when someone finds the courage to speak." Eli looks up, puzzled but proud, as if he's only now realizing what truth can do. Caprio leans forward, his voice returning to formality but carrying something softer beneath. "We'll review this citation immediately. The truth deserves to stand alone." No gavel yet, just the echo of his words settling into the air, calm and irreversible. Amanda turns to her son, brushing his hair from his forehead. He whispers, barely audible, "I didn't want you to cry again, Mom." She smiles faintly through the tears. "I'm not crying because I'm sad, sweetheart." And as Caprio watches them, he says, half to himself, half to the room, "Sometimes justice isn't about punishment. It's about remembering we're all just people trying to do the right thing, eventually." The courtroom remains silent, heavy, human. The law, for once, feels like it's listening. Sometimes truth doesn't arrive as a shout, it arrives as a child's whisper in a courtroom. The silence after Eli's confession is absolute. Even the hum of the ceiling lights feels distant. Judge Caprio sits motionless, his hand still on the papers, but his gaze fixed on Amanda. Her shoulders are trembling slightly, though her face holds the stillness of someone who's spent too long being strong. He finally speaks, voice low, steady. "Ms. Reeves, if what your son just told us is accurate, then something in this record is deeply wrong." He turns to the clerk. "Pull the original police log from that night. All of it." Keystrokes echo through the chamber like a pulse. The crowd leans in, reporters, officers, strangers, waiting. A few moments later, the clerk looks up, frowning. "Judge, the officer's report doesn't list a minor as present. And, the vehicle description doesn't match. It says blue sedan." Caprio glances toward Amanda. "Yours is gray, isn't it?" She nods, confused. He lifts the page, reading carefully. "It seems, Ms. Reeves, you've been punishing yourself for something you never did." The words hang heavy in the air. Amanda covers her mouth. Her son turns toward her, a tiny smile beginning to form. I told you, Mom, he says softly, you didn't do anything wrong. Something in the room breaks open, a wave of relief, quiet gasps, a few muffled sobs. Someone starts clapping, just once, before stopping themselves. Caprio raises a hand gently. Let's hold the applause. We're not finished yet. He flips through the other citations. Now, what about the remaining two? The clerk scrolls again. The second was issued at 11:38 p.m. The cafe's camera footage confirms she was working then, clocked in. And the third? A license plate error. The system mistook a 0 for the letter O. 2 digits off. A hush. Caprio looks down, then slowly removes his glasses. 3 tickets, he says quietly. 3 separate mistakes. And 3 months of fear for one woman trying to survive. He sets the papers aside and meets Amanda's eyes. The system owes you more than an apology, Ms. Reeves. It owes you back the peace it took. Amanda doesn't speak. She just turns toward Eli, who beams at her. Now you can smile, Mom, he whispers. The sound of that small voice ripples through the courtroom, more powerful than any verdict. Caprio smiles faintly, but there's sorrow in it too, a recognition of how fragile justice can be. Eli, he says softly, sometimes it takes a child to remind us how simple truth really is. The gallery stirs, people dabbing their eyes, officers looking down, embarrassed by a system they serve. One reporter quietly lowers her camera, even she can't bring herself to intrude on the moment. Caprio clears his throat. What happened here is not an isolated error, it's a symptom of neglect. Numbers replacing names. Screens replacing judgment. But not today. He closes the folder with finality. We'll correct the record, every part of it. Amanda nods, tears catching the light. She whispers, "Thank you, Your Honor." Eli looks up at the judge. So, does that mean my mom's free? Caprio's eyes soften. Yes, son. She was always free. The world just took too long to notice. The room breathes again, the air lighter now. Somewhere in the back, a quiet voice says, "God bless them." And for the first time that morning, Amanda allows herself to exhale, not as a defendant, not as a widow, not as a survivor, but simply as a mother whose child spoke the truth loud enough for the world to finally hear. Sometimes silence costs more than any fine. The courtroom hasn't emptied. People linger as if leaving too soon might erase what just happened. Judge Caprio sets aside the stack of papers and lifts the phone receiver. His tone shifts, professional, firm, with an undercurrent of disbelief. Yes, this is Judge Caprio. I need confirmation on case ID 4827, 3 traffic citations filed under Amanda Reeves. Check the system logs, please. A pause. Keyboard clicks fill the silence like a nervous metronome. Yes, I'll hold. The crowd can hear fragments, the monotone hum of bureaucracy, a man's voice faint through the receiver, the judge's brief exhale when the truth comes through. He places the phone back in its cradle, eyes narrowing slightly. It appears, he says slowly, that the technician who entered these tickets was working overtime. Exhausted. Made a series of typing errors. Dozens, actually. And no one checked his work. A ripple moves through the room. Amanda stares at the judge, incredulous. So, I could have lost my car, my job, because someone was tired. Caprio meets her gaze. Yes. You could have. And that's why this matters. He folds his hands. Laws are supposed to serve people, not break them. The clerk looks uneasy. Your Honor, what do you want to do with the rest of the affected cases? Identify every one of them, he says firmly. If this woman suffered because of a clerical mistake, others probably did too. Whispers stir across the benches, shock, anger, empathy all tangled together. A middle-aged man in a uniform mutters, "That could have been my wife." Then, before anyone expects it, Eli stands. His voice is small but steady. "Excuse me, Mr. Judge." Caprio looks at him, softening. "Yes, Eli. You helped my mom today. But maybe someone else doesn't know how to ask for help. Maybe they're scared no one will listen to them either." The words fall like pebbles in still water, spreading outward. You can hear every heartbeat in the room. The judge doesn't answer right away. Instead, he leans back, his eyes distant, somewhere between pride and sorrow. "You know, Eli," he finally says, "you just said something adults forget too easily." He turns to his clerk. "Draft an official request to the Department of Transportation. Every ticket issued by that system this quarter is to be reviewed. Every single one." The clerk nods, stunned. "Yes, Your Honor." A low wave of applause begins, then grows until the chamber feels alive again, standing ovations from strangers who didn't even know Amanda 10 minutes ago. Caprio lifts a hand, smiling faintly. "That's enough. We don't celebrate mistakes. We correct them." Amanda watches her son, tears shining but her posture proud. For the first time in years, she looks lighter, as if the invisible weight pressing on her chest has finally shifted. Caprio glances at her. "Ms. Reeves, you taught him something powerful." She shakes her head. "No, sir. He taught me." The judge's eyes linger on the boy, who now fidgets shyly, unsure why everyone's looking at him. "Children," Caprio murmurs, "remind us what fairness used to mean before we complicated it." A bailiff wipes his eyes discreetly. The reporters lower their cameras. There's nothing to film now, only something to feel. Caprio looks down at the empty citation forms, then back at the people before him. "Let this courtroom remember, mistakes happen. But when we listen, really listen, they don't have to repeat." The applause returns, softer this time, like gratitude whispered rather than shouted. And there, among all the adults, a 9-year-old boy just redefined what justice sounds like. There are tears that don't come from pain, but from the sound of justice finally speaking out loud. The courtroom is quieter now, yet the air hums with emotion. Papers have been cleared, the crowd has thinned, but a few people stay, unwilling to break the spell. Judge Caprio adjusts his glasses, his expression composed yet tender. "Ms. Reeves," he begins, voice steady, "all 3 citations are hereby annulled. You owe nothing to this city. If anything, this city owes you an apology." Amanda's lips tremble. She tries to reply, but no words come. Eli grips her arm, eyes wide, unsure whether to smile or cry. Caprio turns toward the boy. "And you, young man," he says, leaning forward slightly, "you did more today than you realize. You reminded us that truth doesn't need to shout, it just needs courage." The boy looks down, shy but proud. The audience watches in silence, a few sniffles breaking through. Amanda wipes her cheeks. "Thank you, Your Honor. I don't even know how to." He raises a hand gently. "You already did. You showed up. That's how change begins." Then, with the faintest smile, he adds, "Your husband would have been proud of you both." For a moment, Amanda's composure cracks. She closes her eyes, tears slipping free, not of sorrow, but release. Eli leans into her, wrapping both arms around her waist. The judge looks away briefly, giving them privacy in a room full of witnesses. When he speaks again, it's to his clerk. "Prepare a recommendation. Every motorist affected by this system error deserves full reimbursement. Let's make sure Ms. Reeves isn't the last person to receive justice today." The clerk nods. "Yes, Your Honor." In the back row, someone starts clapping softly. It spreads, not the loud applause of triumph, but the quiet rhythm of gratitude. Caprio stands. "Please," he says, his tone almost fatherly. "Don't applaud me. Justice isn't entertainment. It's empathy with rules attached." The room stills again. He looks at Eli. "And, young man, what do you want to be when you grow up?" Eli straightens, his voice small but sure. I want to be like you. Caprio chuckles. No, son. Be better. The boy grins, and for the first time, the whole room breathes, an exhale of shared relief. Outside, the air feels lighter. The crowd spills out of the courthouse, whispering the same thing, that little boy saved his mom. Someone's phone starts recording the scene. Within hours, the clip spreads online. Millions watch, a mother's tears, a boy's courage, a judge's calm mercy. Comments flood in. I cried listening to this. This is what justice should feel like. Humanity still exists. At the end of the viral video, a single line lingers, Judge Caprio's voice, calm, reflective. Sometimes people come to court expecting a sentence. But they leave with hope. A week later, someone spots Amanda and Eli walking home from school. No cameras, no microphones, just a mother and her son sharing a quiet laugh. The old car, once a symbol of fear, now waits in the driveway like an old friend. Eli holds her hand and says, Mom, we're okay now, right? She smiles. Yes, sweetheart. We finally are. And for once, justice doesn't echo from the bench or the headlines. It lives in the silence between them, the kind that doesn't need an audience to be true.